the agenda? Okay. I don't think this is what we have with them. Can I have that?
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Mr. Deputy Chair, our invited guest. My name is
Honorable Sylvester Waga. I represent Abakaliki Zifira constituency. I'm from Ebonyi State, and the chairman of this committee by the special grace of God. So we will take your own
very important House of Reps committee on delegated legislation. My name is Kingsley Amaku. I am an assistant director with NFIU, and I'm head of sanctions. Thank you so much for inviting NFIU.
NFIU and the acting head of the Public Accounts Department. Thank you.
High table. My colleagues, invited guests, may I stand on the existing protocols? My name is Anthony Odu Aba from Federal Ministry of Justice. I represent the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice. Thank you.
I'm a legal advisor to the Association of Local Government Councils of Nigeria. Thank you, sir.
Rogers. I am the Secretary General of the Intergovernmental Marital Committee, which is the parent body of the Association of Local Government Registrars in Nigeria. Thank you, sir.
Members of Committee on Delegated Legislation. My name is Alhaji Babatunde Rutinwa, a retired of service in Lagos State and presently serving as the chairman, Lagos State Local Government Service Commission. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, and the honorable members of the committee. Deji Shokeye is my name, married registrar Ibejuleki Local Government, and the president, body of married registrars in Nigeria, the national president, married registrars in Nigeria. Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, sirs, honorable chairman, other honorables, beloved colleagues, and Mrs. Francisca Igbon from Edo State, the state officer in charge of registry in Edo State. Thank you, sirs.
I look at Interior Ministry as a key stakeholder in this matter, and if they are not here, that's why we needed the clerk to be here. Deputy Clerk, can you brief the committee on whether there's communication from the Interior Ministry?
I actually think that they should be in this meeting, but I believe that the clerk can give further briefing.
Okay. Clerk,
if
please.
They've sent any
Senior officer of the Attorney General's office. Can we hear from you, sir, on this?
On getting the petition, or the invitation, let me say rather. And like I earlier tried to clear with the clerk, there was no attachment of any document. But that is not the issue. I was thinking Office of Interior will be here, as well as the petitioners. And we will hear from both sides, because I want to believe that it's a matter of interpretation. We will not be able to say what Office of Interior is, positing their powers on as it is now, as against what we have from the Constitution. And we cannot, sorry, Mr. Chairman, sir, I want to believe that we cannot, on our own, just base our argument on the Constitution alone without hearing from them. So I want to suggest, sir, they must have to appear. Thank you, sir. That and claim not, not to be respecting the court or whatever, I don't see it to be a good enough reason for them. They have to appear. I'm sorry.
They are agitating that it's your office that are supposed to actually interpret this and get information to the Ministry of Interior. So this case should not be new to you, and I believe you should be able to do reasonable justice to it, to what we have at hand. It's not a new case. It's been lingering for probably about a decade now. So your input, because it's a matter of interpretation, so your input is very, very important and germane to this case.
I, of course, could sit down here and try the best I can within the law to interpret whatever we may be talking about. But unfortunately, I don't even have any of the documents. Neither do I have any of the parties to say anything to give me a clue. I only have the invitation letter here, the previous and then the present one. And I don't think they are good enough for me to start saying anything now. I'm sorry.
Thank you so much. It's all about untying the difficulties created by either one or two or more legislations on a particular issue. And I'm aware, being a very senior member of the House of Representatives, I do know that where two legislations are involved and there is constitution and it's on the same issue, the powers of the constitution prevails. But there are other issues which has been lingering, which has also, I think, the law court has been giving judgment on. And for the fact that we cannot hear from one party and then conclude on what we are about to do, what we would have done naturally is to listen to the two parties, get your own advice, and then we meet and bring up our resolution. And in a case where it's only one party that is here, it will be difficult for us to take decision because we need to ask them questions based on what they submitted, and we cannot read this in their absence. That is their submission. But the fact that they're invited and they have made submission, it's like filing in a court and say you didn't appear. Your filing is evidence enough to say, this is my position. So we will, as a committee, honorable colleagues, we may make suggestions of what we can do. Maybe my worry is asking people from Lagos, other places, to come back and on this issue, and people who are close to us here, not being in our position, we can also do a serious letter and then compel them to appear. But before we do this, we can
hear. And I think the best we can do is to move this till another date, which will be communicated.
It's a privilege for us to appear before you this afternoon. We just would like to bring to your attention that what ordinarily appears to be a simple dispute between the two parties is expanding to become something that is threatening lives now, and we need your urgent intervention. This matter is not sub judice. They have made a written presentation before you. This committee is more than able to look at those documents without even calling oral evidence. But if the committee chooses to go ahead and give us further dates, we are more than able to appear before you. It's a privilege to us to come here, but we want a very short adjournment. If that is the decision of this committee. I also would like to expatiate on the issue of loss of lives being threatened. The other party had actually written to some embassy that they should not recognize the certificate that is being issued by the local government. And those parties that were involved in those marriages, they had gone back to the villages and they've been threatening the lives of the marriage registrars for doing something that they are statutorily obliged to do. That is the situation as at this moment. And we have a lot of such cases coming up every day. We want to urge you to kindly give us a short adjournment. We know you are very busy. That is our position, sir.
It's no petition, my lord. It's lawlessness. Even the office of the Attorney General have given a position in the paper we gave you. They've written. They gave a position. They've already given their position. Signed, submit. They gave their position on oath, and they gave their position ordinarily. And when we pushed them further, they said, well, it is Ministry of Internal, it's Ministry of Interior, not us, that we should face them. That we should face them, that they have advised them to do the right thing. The office of the Attorney General have said this is not their duty, sir. And now, presently, a registrar at Egwoma in Bayelsa local government, still in the hospital, some couples who wants to travel was denied visa by Belgium. They went to beat him and burn the local government marriage registry. Sir, it's on paper, which we will tender. In fact, on record, even while we wrote this petition, after putting in the petition in, the people, the private body, they even gave the marriage registry, the court, by Femi Falano's son, took them to court, and the court declared it illegal. Why we came here is that I'm sure by now they are packing paper for appeal. And while they are doing this appeal, they are, you know the Nigerian mentality, they are using the federal mentality to write to the embassies. Presently, there is a chaos. Nobody goes to the local government again. Those people that goes to the local government only go to beat them up. That they should take this certificate and give them their money back. In fact, you will see Lagos State, for example, the 52 local government and FCDA, you will not see one person registering marriage in a month. While every Thursday, there are more than 1,000. And they are not constitutionally allowed to do it. The Attorney General said, ordinarily, we are not supposed to be in court. This is a tie of government. So we are appealing to the Honorable Chairman to please, whatever action they want to take, to put this in mind. Thank you, sir.
The due fair hearing. That's why we are going to give you another date. We know you are from Lagos, far from here. Don't worry, wherever you are from, we want to see that we do and give people fair hearing. We are not a party to what you are saying. We don't want to be. We just want to listen. But what we will assure you here is that by the end of the day, we will have a final answer to this your problem. So let's take, necessary steps to make sure that whatever we do here will not be taken to another place and say we have done wrong. We have processes of the National Assembly. This is whatever we do here. It's part of what we do on the floor. And we have processes, and those processes govern our committee meetings too. So we must give them fair hearing. They must come. But what we are showing you, the next date we give you, they will come. They will have to come. Okay? Everything will be settled by then.
Oluga Kimboju Okuchukwaru, Federal Constituency of those State. There's not a lot to say because that's exactly what I wanted to say. But of more additional importance is the issue the gentleman raised about threat to life. In as much as the committee we are not policemen here, And I think we have a responsibility to advise you on the course of action if life is being threatened. So I think it's very important that if there's any issue in relation to threat of life, that you should try as much as possible to report this to the police. You have a duty of care for yourself. So if you send that before the committee now, I don't think we can really do a lot, but we have a responsibility to make sure every issue of threat to life is reported to the police and is documented. Thank you.
Chairman. This issue as fast as possible, which I believe is the reason why the local government people actually complain, because some actions have been taken and some people are reacting to those actions, and if we don't dispense of this case, we can't really control that reaction. So it is very important, and when we are writing to the General's office this time around, we must ensure that the appropriate person who can handle this issue once and for all comes around, the appropriate department, because the representative of the Attorney General said it's a very large ministry. So this is a case that has been lingering for long. This is a case that just needs interpretation, and we are all government agencies. It's very embarrassing, either federal, local, or state. This is a federal agency. We are federal agencies, so there should not be any rancor, and we are not even putting the country in good light in front of other countries, because when we are writing to the embassies and one level of tier of government is no longer recognized, I believe we should do this as fast as possible, and the appropriate people must be here, even from Ministry of Interior. By the time they are coming, we won't want a situation where the officer that will come will now say, probably, I'm not the person, appropriate person to be here. Our next sitting must be very productive. So, Mr. Chairman, I believe we should be able to send that some message to all the agencies involved.
Can imagine where visa is denied for somebody who has the urgency of traveling out of the country because of a letter written by the ministry. But before, let us hear from the. But if it is about what he said, okay, it's not talking.
But I am the liaison officer to the National Assembly as well as in legal drafting department. I draft laws. I have been doing laws with you. So if anybody should be sent here to come and interpret, I think legal drafting should be the right place. And now it just came to legal drafting without any attachment. We should have done our opinion long ago, sent in. Of course, yes, I got this letter day first, on the 3rd. So it's unfortunate. Thank you, Chair.
Yes. Today is already Thursday. The petition will be discussed on Tuesday next week. So we can excuse you now. Take the
submitted its position on the letter requesting our attendance. And I'm sure that members are in receipt of the position of the NFI. Yes. But let me start by thanking this honorable committee and by extension, the National Assembly for passing the NFIU Act last year. And I think it's visionary, and I think it's a mark of the ingenuity and the foresight of the National Assembly to deal with a growing menace which we have found ourselves in, especially not only money laundering, but terrorism financing. Terrorism has taken roots in our country, and we know that the biggest weapon the terrorists have is their access to finance. Therefore, the National Assembly set up the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit to institutionalize best practices in financial intelligence management. Since the inception and the takeoff of the NFIU has worked hard to develop schemes to identify where the risk in our financial systems are, that is enabling money laundering and terrorism financing. This is exactly the objective of the guideline which the NFIU issued relating to the local government financing. The NFIU owes the National Assembly and exactly this committee an explanation as to what is the purport of this guideline, what does it aim to achieve, is it even necessary, is the NFIU overreaching itself by trying to manage transactions of the local government? I think these are issues that many Nigerians are worried about, and rightfully so. And as the lawmakers who set up this important institution, we owe you the duty to explain to you the purpose of the guideline and why we think that it is in the right direction. First and foremost, the NFIU is not a regulator of the local government authorities in Nigeria. The NFIU does not seek to regulate the transaction of the local governments in Nigeria. The NFIU only seeks to promote prudence in the financial system and blocking loopholes that terrorists and money laundering individuals have used to manipulate our financial system and to, in a way, create the situation we all face today, where many lives have been lost. The threat to our life and national security is heightened because access to cash has been seen as a major risk that the NFIU has identified from its finding. It will interest you that it's not only the NFIU that has made this finding. The Economic Commission for Africa, an agency of the United Nations, stated that over-invoicing in form of foreign trade malpractices is the main vehicle used to launder monies in Nigeria. Bureau de Change evidently plays a major role in this scheme. You will ask, how then, and what is the role of the local government financing in this regard? The highest movement of cash we have seen in the system is traceable to the local government system, and it is directly converged in the joint state and local government account.
cumulative spendable money at the local government. I mean, in terms of cash, withdrawable cash at the local government. Well, I don't know when you are taking the decision, what if you have the input of the practitioners at the local government. If you know what the operations of the local government actually are, the operations, the way they operate. And they are the closest to the people. The need for immediate cash at that tier of government. If talking about, if we actually have a general policy of cashless economy, which gives 5 million naira to individuals, at least about 10 million naira to corporate organization, as amended recently. I know it was 500,000 to 3 million before, but I believe it has been increased recently. But if the ones for individuals are even 500,000 to 3 million for corporate body, and you are not talking about a whole tier of government to be dealing with 500,000 naira as cash, daily cash withdrawal, don't you think that will strangle and frustrate the function of that local government in itself? Because if you are doing any law that will frustrate the essence of existence of an organization, then such a law might be counterproductive. So these are the areas I want us to actually look into. And if you also said that area of invoicing, the bureau de change, are the major sources of money laundering. Then do you say that it's the local government now that now patronizes them, or every other tier of government? So why the focus on local government? Thanks.
On the part of caution, because most times we take up government policy without consultation. I don't know how much NFIU did by bringing the local government to a round table and getting, just like the last person said, try to understand their operations, how this regulation and implementation will affect them. I'm very sure you didn't do that. If you had done that, maybe we'll be talking differently now. So that in the course of our implementation, I think it's something, just like I said, a matter of caution. Let's try to always put everything on the table so that when we take decisions, because it's embarrassing when the same government start fighting each other. To the outside world, just like the last one we just finished, it doesn't tell well of what we're doing as a people and as a government. Thank you.
Most of the times I look at it as if what you have defined now as your point coming has to do with gathering financial intelligence. Assuming there is these things you have mentioned to curb, money laundering and the rest of them. I'm wondering where you are coming into enforcing, that some specific amount of money will be used or withdrawn in curbing these things you are supposed to investigate, find out, and checkmate. Part of the checkmating is not crumbling the capacity of, I think these duties are coming close to what the EFCC, because that one is tackling crime. You are an intelligence unit. You check, you look out to discover, you accumulate all this information and say that, look, we have discovered this. But now coming to, specify that, look, so person cannot do beyond this. It's like you want to enforce. So that's where my concern is coming. The delivery, but I quite agree with my colleagues from the submission and their opinion on this subject matter. But my concern is there is clearly positive evidence to back up what this allegation you're saying. We should be guided by facts and clear evidence. It's just, it's not strong enough. That's just my opinion. Yeah, thank you.
We are an intelligence agency. We are not a law enforcement agency. We gather information and we disseminate to the law enforcement agencies. But we also have a responsibility to make specific recommendations and advisories to government and to take certain action in our law, to take certain action to block certain loopholes. For instance, if you look at the guideline, it says guideline for mitigation of money laundering, terrorist financing, and proliferation of weapons. An analysis of the financial transactions in local government shows that cash is unleashed in the system, on the streets, once local governments begin to get certain money. And we have noticed that bureaus de change get so much from such systems, and criminals and terrorists use the same opportunity to also offload certain things into the system. So we thought that if we can put out a guideline that will simply ensure an audit trail, because cash is not easy to follow. We simply want an audit trail of who was paid what, how much was paid the person. We are not interested in how the local government runs its affairs, but we are interested in ensuring that that money is not used for criminal purposes, because apart from the internal security issues, it also has international implications. As he said, the FATF is also releasing certain recommendations on those risks that we need to identify and those things we need to mitigate those risks. So if you say why focus on local governments, our analysis, we've done analysis where we've seen in certain states, from JAC accounts, a JAC account that is supposed to be a distribution account. We've seen from JAC accounts where individuals are paid. Instead of simply moving money from JAC to the revenue account, the statutory account of local governments, either revenue, either statutory or VAT, that you see individuals being paid, you see myriads of activities going on in JAC account. From JAC account in some states, they sponsor pilgrims. In JAC accounts, they pay for some projects. Instead of allowing the local government, we don't have a problem, the arrangements between states and local governments in terms of project execution and financing. But the local governments need to act as a tier of government. They need to take responsibility for their finances, and if they want to contribute to state government execution of projects, it needs to come from the local government account, not from the JAC. So these are some of the things we have observed when the guidelines came. And in the guidelines, if you look at provision 5, I guess, we advised local governments to open a single revenue account, a single salary account, a single running cost account. But what we see an account for traditional rulers, for health workers, for teachers, for this, for that. We see so many things. So is either we canalize the system, or we leave it loose. And we run a high risk in this country if we let it loose. So that's part of the reasons why we think we need to do what we did. Thank you.
So can I just...
Now,
there is a central pay for staff, because there have been a call by local government staffers and teachers that teachers are not paid by local government on time, and local government staff are not paid. So it was generally agreed that that should be deducted from source. So you see, that's why you can't cry more than the berate. The issue must be, what are the local government bringing for, and what are your positions? Your position is even going ultraviolence of even the position of the local government. What we are saying now is, if we want to actually put up a policy, we must look at what is this policy actually addressing. We might say someone is having headache, having back pain, having anything, and we just give him a medicine for diarrhea, because the medicine now is not working in line with all the issues we have actually mentioned. The JAC government, the Joint Local Government Allocation Committee, is to empower the local government by making the state at 10% of their IGL. If they are not doing, reducing the cash do not solve that. Cash transaction will not solve that.
Yes, sir. You are absolutely right. But as a financial system, you run a high risk of being vulnerable to terrorism financing, where a huge amount of the transactions are in the dark alley. When you are riding in your car and somebody gives you an address and you put it on Google, you don't know where you're going to, but if you put it on Google, it takes you there. And then suddenly somebody gives you an address, I put it on Google, it takes you nowhere. Okay. What we want to do is to be able to find our way around our financial systems. Now, if you travel, and all of you travel, you go to UK, US, even in the banks, if you bring a certain amount of money to lodge into an account, they will ask you for certain documentation before they will take it from you. If you want to withdraw it, they want to know, because they don't want dark alleys in their financial system. They want to be able to track everything. So the documentation is just to find the GPS that connects to your money. The idea of local government restrictions that we have done is not to control JAC, to pay teachers as I went due. That's not our business. The simple prudential question to ask, sir, what kind of transaction is hindered? What kind of transaction is hindered? Whether you're at the local government, state government, or at the federal government, what kind of transaction is hindered by making it cashless? What kind of transaction? If you want to pay teachers today, and you can simply say, for all the teachers, you go and open an account with a bank, and your money will be paid. The fact that it is 1 billion per salary will not be limited by the fact that you are not seeing the cash. The point we are making is simply this: the impression being made that we are stifling the local government from getting their money or from transacting with their money however they please, if they want the states to control it or want to control it by themselves, is not minimized by the idea that 500 naira is 1,000 is the cap for cash. Why is this all important for all of us? And you have asked, Bureau de Change, these people, are they getting the money from there? You would not know, but we know that they are getting a lot of money from this system. Why? How do we know? Because we have a system that tracks these transactions, and we see high volume immediately. There is FAQ releases to local governments and states. And so we say, okay, let's do this thing and see what is the implication. And I can tell you that our review, because we do a monthly review, and we have been doing monthly review, our reviews have shown that rather than even stifle the local governments, it has created an accounting scheme for the local governments that they never had before. And in fact, they are more in charge of the spending, and they can tell what they are spending their monies on much more than before, when as the money is entering, it is finished, and you can hardly account for what they are doing. Now, the accounting is not our problem. Our problem is, let our financial system be such that we, as the intelligence unit, can locate what is going on to avoid this risk that we have mentioned. We have a major risk of terrorism financing, and everybody can attest to that. We have a major risk of money laundering and proliferation of weapons. If we must solve these problems, we cannot treat them with kid gloves. And we cannot be doing the same thing over and over again and expecting that somehow we will have a different result. People have done this in other countries, and they are successful. Why are we shying away from change, from embracing certain things that will help us? We are in a dangerous zone as a country.
About such cash, you know, they have constitutional powers of certain reliefs, which they can do instantly, like approval for financial assistance and other things. Then, I'm not quarreling the issue of cashless arrangement. Because if you pay somebody with check, definitely you will know, trace how the person cashed it. There's always payment with ID cards. There's also, if you pay it into your account, your details are there. And what about constitutional infringements? When we talk about the section 16267, does your guideline take cognizance of this, and what are the palliative to bring that to bear?
Indeed, we are in the right track. Now, we must ask ourselves, who is the guideline directed at? What does it seek to do? This guideline does not pretend to determine for the states or the local governments who is going to build a road, whether they should pay traditional rulers or not, whether they should open a health center, whether they should open a club where they dance every day. It doesn't pretend to in any way regulate the capacity or the opportunity of the local governments to determine for themselves what they do with their money. It simply is directed at the financial systems, making sure that the trail on our financial system does not open us to becoming vulnerable. Therefore, the purpose is simply to strengthen then the capacity, not just for us to be able to even see what the system is doing. It's for the system to even be able to monitor itself. Anywhere where the financial system anywhere in the world, financial systems are never about cash transactions. Everywhere in the world, the financial systems are never about cash transactions. Why is financial system very nervous about cash transactions? Because they create dark alleys, and that's what you want to avoid. That this idea that they are trying to control it is not true, and it cannot be the consequence of this guideline.
Be mindful of the fact that it could be very difficult to make extrapolations. You know what is happening in Europe and America. You need to consider adequately the operational impact assessment. If you do this, it's not a universal thing. You cannot just bring, it's a good idea, no doubt about it, but how does it affect the common man or the functions and the duties of the local government? That's one point. The second issue is the local government only take about 20% of, so it has to be a total, if I don't know why you very restrictive in your net, in your drag net. But excuse me, yeah.
Also extend this to cover every kind of transaction that we do have. And I believe that irrespective of the tier of government that is involved, our purpose remains the same, and we will capture every tier. Why? Because it may be difficult now for the kind of small inconveniences given to us, but if I will ask, none of us here would prefer to have some money in the hands of Boko Haram that it can use to procure either bombs. Wait, sir. Okay, sir.
Of the executives. So we don't want to use that as a threshold on any time you are meting out, situations like that. What we are saying is this. There are places where we know that, yes, we're talking of terrorism. You mentioned some specific areas where it's prevalent. There are places where you're talking of money laundering, you understand, and all those things. It's in Nigeria. It's not only in Nigeria, there are other countries. Yeah. It's just that sometimes we use issues like that to not only dement on our own image. You understand? What we are saying is this. If you are bringing in this to the local government, where you know that the generality of our people are local, just like the name entails. In my community, somebody in Oba, Ofemili, close to River Niger, doesn't have an ATM machine. The state government couldn't even build a good road to take them. It takes about 3 hours drive to get to the headquarters where they can easily access all those things. It takes them like 25 minutes through the boat to get to the local government headquarters. And the teachers there have immediate need. Somebody needs to buy gari, it warrants the person taking all that long. Maybe he needs like 5,000, 10,000 naira to get to the state headquarters. That will cost him like 1,500 to drive. And all those things are what we are looking at. We're not saying that what we are bringing on board is not good to checkmate the major issues we're having in this country. You're talking of Boko Haram, yes. Yeah, we know all those things. But how would
this impact you're creating affects the common people in these localities where you don't have those Boko Haram, where you don't have those money laundering issues? How will it? And that's what we are talking about. If you are bringing it down to the local government alone, and you are insisting it has to be, and you are giving them a mandate, we know we are talking from experience. I take myself as an example. I get to my house in Oka, and I sit there, and you see locals who in a day, their demand alone on me as a person, because I'm a lawmaker, and they felt this is federal on ground. We are talking practical things, and that is where we want you to look at it from. You understand?
Raising collection, there's no way you cannot trace collection. But even if it's cash, it's someone that is going to get that money. The check must be written in someone's name with a memo of what the money will be used for. The breakdown must be stated. So if you are paying non-pensionable staff, most of those ones usually come with cash because of the size, the amount of money. You pay stipends to aged people and widows at the local government level. These are things you cannot tell the old man, woman, you are giving 5,000 naira a month to be going to bank. So probably you have about 100 or 200 of them. You pay them through just one officer who needs to go and get the money in his own name, and he must account for such payments. So it's nothing like you can't trace. And we're talking about the size of money at the local government. And when you say you investigated and you find out so many, how many local government chairmen has been prosecuted or even found guilty of money laundering? You'll be convicting governors, you'll be convicting ministers. How many local government chairmen?
Now, nobody can say that NFIU is quarreling with a particular local government chairman who wants to punish them. The purpose of this was entirely because we realized that our highest vulnerabilities are at the local level. And indeed, if you see the attack on that, we are talking about the local government level. Payments from local government to teachers, to all these people we've talked about, if the local government, I am pretty sure that when we say 500, it doesn't mean that that's all the transaction the local government can do in a day. Wait, sir. Wait. We say cash 500,000, but it can do 200 million in a day, online, cashlessly. Now, that's one. But if we have a major vulnerability, when we say Boko Haram has attacked, these people have attacked, they hardly do you hear that it is in Abuja. It is in a local government. You hear that in the state, it is people who are the most vulnerable are the ones that are hit the most. Now, we have a duty as an intelligence agency to think carefully about how do we mitigate the vulnerabilities we face. The law you gave to us to implement as our objective simply says this. It says that under Part 2, Section 3G, it says, assist in the identification of the proceeds of unlawful activities, the combating of money laundering, the financing of terrorism, and the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction and related activities. Assist in the identification. Now, we have done our identification of where we face vulnerabilities. And we know that there are scales of vulnerabilities we face, from the high risk to medium risk and the lowest risk. We have identified the local government's financing as one of the high-risk zones. And why this is so is simply because it is the most reviewed level of our financial system, not just our government. What happens in the local government? You sit in Abuja here, sir, and I'm sure that when they bring the budget of the federation, you see it, you query it. The legislators in the house see what the state governor brings. They see it, they query it. The local government system as we know it today is so broken down to the point where these levels of checks and balances are hardly visible or viable. That's one. Secondly, sir, the other is this. We cannot create one rule for a particular segment of local government and another rule for another segment. And indeed, we are not creating this for the local government. We are creating them for the financial systems.
And if you don't have chairman of local government, what you have is caretaker committee people. And the caretaker committee people don't have legislators. If there were legislators, you would have councillors. But where we shared concern is the involvement of the local government to at least throw light on what funds are involved, physical funds, cash, daily cash spending. You are not saying that they should not spend their money from the guideline. And we're also saying that there are places so remote that what is obtained is merely cash. Because for somebody taking salary of 17,000, 15,000 to travel a distance of where they spend more than 1,000 naira going and coming back is a big load on those people. You can't even pay them salary via bank. And like my member here talked about, he said, there are people you cannot pay through bank. Otherwise, you are punishing them because of the situation they find themselves. So what I'm saying is, we've heard from you. Unfortunately, the people were trying to protect because they are, we're giving them protection because it's a government setting. And the duty of this committee is to make sure that nobody can use the legislative provision it has to suppress any agent of government in course of action. So they are here, we would like to know them, we would like to listen to them and the fields they have on the guideline. I don't know whether it is already in operation or the fear of the unknown.
Right Honorable Benny Bakwa, I greet you especially from home. My name is Ichako Ikpoku, Chairman Algon Delta State. Honorable Kolade David Alabi is indisposed. He's been sick for some time. And I bring his apologies. He's our national president of Algon. And I am here on his behalf. With me is Aminu Mwazu Mefata, Chairman Algon Nasarawa State. We have our legal and admin officer in our Algon office, Mrs. Evan Enegwe. She's a lawyer, and she's also on our team. I want to sincerely thank you for this opportunity, and I hope that this interaction will also help to expand the discussion on the issues. First, Right Honorable Sir, let me say that when the guidelines came out, what surprised us was a provision 1, which states, it is hereby provided that these guidelines are irreversible. Yeah, you can stay. we felt it was offensive in a country that practices constitutional democracy. Even the constitution itself is prone to review from time to time, and we felt that that is that. Secondly, sir, the national president has asked me to say that NFIU did not consult with the local governments. If there was consultation at the level of local governments, the synergy would have been better than what you have today, I think. Because, to be honest, fair, and sincere, they have lumped up everybody in one basket. And I'll give you the scenario, sir. What they have done by their action, even though we feel it didn't follow due process with the Constitution of the Federal Republic, is to rescue states and local governments that have been in the bondage of persons who have been collecting their monies. But you're also lumping them with states like ours, who have been helping the local governments to survive. And I give an example of Delta. This month, I just paid salaries yesterday. The state government had to augment the worker salary with 16 million. So you have two scenarios. Why some states are not dealing directly with the issue, many other states are helping out. I agree that the fight for terrorism, we need to fight it. But giving it a terrorist outlook, I think diminishes whatever input the governors who are helping us out in our states, because that's what's happening. I say it as it is, and those who know, they know. So, sir, those are the two issues that are on ground. Like you have rightly said, I have a non-pensionable working staff of 1.5 million. I come from Ole. There's only one ATM in the community. In fact, we've been battling with Zenith Bank. I'm a second-time chairman elected. And we've been battling with Zenith FCMB to open branches. And their complaint is that for now, they cannot spread. Okay, don't open a branch. Give us ATM gallery. Even that is difficult. So, for those who know Isoko, like Right Honorable Benny Bakpa, you need to go to Ozoro or go to Ugeli. In driving to Ozoro, sir, you need to do a 20 minutes drive on Okada and 10 minutes drive in a car. In Ozoro, in Ugeli, which is bigger, that's a 30 minutes drive. Imagine what that does to us as a people. Basically, what I think should have happened was for NFIU to sit down with some of us and say, look, we want to live. We know there are issues in some states. We know. But I think that between the National Assembly, the Council, just as we are doing today, would have been able to find a middle way to help, because it is not possible that any local government, I'll just give you an example of mine. Mine is 1.5 million non-pensionable staff, and you must pay them. When we came in, we didn't have drivers, sir, because most of them, they had gone back to school, and so they had done intercadar and conversions. So they are now becoming the admin officers or so the whole grade level from 6 down, it's very minimal. So we needed tractor drivers, in some cases sweepers. So we need a whole lot. Cleaners and all of that. That's why we say, okay, what will it cost us? So we did a cost analysis of what we needed in the 25 local governments. Okay, look, this is ideal, this is right, let us proceed with this. So that is the scenario. So I think the scenario is that you lumped up it works. It's whether for the fun of it, whatever it works. It may not be as perfect as what we have here at the National Assembly, but it works because there really are checks and balances. What you find in Houses of, or he has an issue with, you just tell his councillors, so those are some of the issues. So basically, it's a guideline. It's irreversible. It was offensive.